Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. Today's episode is called Understanding the Civil Rights Movements and the Fight for Equality as well as Social Change. My name is Zori Washington.
And I'm Jaden. Thanks for joining us. Today we're talking about one of the most important periods in African American history.
Even if you've heard names like Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks before, there's so much more to the story. Today we'll be talking about why the movement started, the people who made a difference, and how their actions still affect our lives today.
Let's start with the question, what was the Civil Rights Movement?
The Civil Rights Movement was a movement during the 1950s and 1960s that focused on inner segregation as well as racial discrimination against African Americans. Even though slavery had ended almost 100 years earlier, African Americans still faced unfair laws and unequal treatment, especially in the South.
These laws were known as Jim Crow laws. They kept black and white people separated in schools, restaurants, buses, bathrooms, and just any other public place. The African Americans also faced barriers trying to vote, find jobs, and receive equal education.
Now, imagine working hard every day, but still being told where you could sit, where you could eat, or whether you could vote or not. Many people decided enough was enough and they wanted change.
One of the first big steps towards that change happened in 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education. This Supreme Court case ruled that segregated public schools were unconstitutional. This decision challenged the idea that separate schools could ever be equal.
A year later, another historical event took place. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her arrest led to the Montgomery bus boycott.
For more than a year, thousands and thousands of African Americans refused to ride the city buses. They walked to work, shared rides, and supported each other. Their determination paid off when the Supreme Court ruled that segregation on public buses was also unconstitutional.
Around this time, Martin Luther King Jr. became one of the most recognized leaders of the movement. He believed peaceful protests were the best way to challenge injustice. His speeches encouraged people across the country to stand together for equality.
Another important leader was Malcolm X. His message was different. He believed African Americans should defend themselves and demand their rights without waiting for change. Even though he and Martin Luther King Jr. had different approaches, they both wanted equality and justice.
Students also played a huge role in the movement. In 1960, 4 black college students sat at a segregated lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. They were refused service, but they stayed seated peacefully.
Their protests inspired thousands of students across the country to organize similar sit-ins. These demonstrations showed how young people became leaders in the fight for civil rights.
Another important event was the Freedom Rise in 1961. Civil rights activists rode buses across the South to challenge segregation. Many of them were attacked or arrested, but they continued because they believed the laws had to change.
Then came one of the most famous events of the movement, like all around, the March on Washington in 1963. More than 250,000 people gathered to demand equal rights and economic opportunities.
During that march, Martin Luther King delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech. His words inspired millions of people and became one of the best-known speeches in American history.
The Civil Rights Movement led to important changes. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 made discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin illegal in many public places or workspaces.
Then, in 1965, the Voting Rights Act helped protect African Americans from unfair voting restrictions like literacy tests and other barriers that have prevented many people from voting for years.
Even though these laws brought important changes, the movement also reminded us that progress takes time and requires people to work together.
Learning about the Civil Rights Movement helps us understand the sacrifices people made for the rights many of us have today. It also shows how ordinary people work together to create a lasting change.
So we hope today's episode helped you learn something new about the Civil Rights Movement and why it remains an important part of African American history today.
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
We'll hope to see you next time. Take care.